Good morning. Good morning. We listen to you. We are sparse but mighty. Welcome to the Boise Unitarian Universalist Fellowship. We are a spiritually diverse group seeking justice and I can't read this morning. Let's see. Let me find my place here. Yeah, well, I think I just need a little. So, we are a spiritually diverse, justice-seeking community proclaiming the power of love. At the core of our living tradition, love of ourselves, love of our neighbors, love of our planet. Whoever you are, wherever you are on your spiritual journey, you are welcome here. Whatever faiths you've known, if any, you are welcome here. Whomever you love, however you identify, you are welcome here. I'm Patricia Heeb. I'm your celebrant this morning. I think it's going to be a very nice day. Let's take a moment to welcome the online community. Those join us via Zoom. Turn around, wave at the camera, look around the room and wave. We have miles between you here, so lots of waves. A special welcome this morning to our newcomers. We know it's not that easy to check out a new community, and so we're glad that you've chosen us this morning. We invite you to introduce yourself to us during the hospitality time. There'll be coffee and tea and goodies next door there, and we would like to welcome you in person. Please fill out our newcomer forms found in the entryway or in the chat so we can keep you up to date with what is happening in the fellowship. A reminder that our Inquirers class for newcomers begins at the end of September in the Channing Room that's in the South Wing. This is our series that introduces newcomers to Unitarian Universalism and to this fellowship. But anybody's welcome, so if you want to catch up really on the facts, that's a good place to do it. Next week is Boise Pride. We will not, yay for Boise Pride. We will not hold worship on that Sunday, but we invite everyone to come and worship at the Interfaith Pride service at 9 a.m. on the main stage of Ann Morrison Park. That's the one that's closest to the Americana entrance. So the sanctuary that's been under construction for all so long is hopefully going to be open in just a couple of weeks. So yay. Keep your eyes peeled for if that actually is able to happen. So we have an announcement from Kathy Carmen. Where are you? Oh.
So my name is Kathy Carmen, and my pronouns are she, her. And my task this morning is to talk a little bit about our religious exploration program from the perspective of someone who's been through it, someone who helped run it, and just to let you know where we have been so that we can keep going forward. I'm of the era that just being in this room for worship brings back so many memories, because I was here, and some of you were too, when these wings were built in 2003, 2004. I'm thinking Carrie, my husband Lyndon tells the story that he first met Carrie when we were meeting right here, not when we were in the sanctuary. But we were converting the sanctuary into as big as it is, because on the sides of the sanctuary, we had 4 RE classrooms. Okay? So
occasional drumming lessons during the sermon.
Exactly. That was it. That was it. That was it. So where the ceiling kind of comes down on the sides, not in the main portion, there were walls there, and it was divided off into 2 classrooms on each side. That's why there were so many doors and windows there, is because we had kiddos there, and the nursery in the back. So when we expanded here, we were just so happy to be able to spread out our wings. And we had to expand at that time because we had over 100 kids in RE. I know. You're like, really? Yeah. If you build it, they will come, man. I mean, that's the way it was. So the memories that I have, we raised 2 children here. That's one of the reasons my husband and I started back in 1998. Raised 2 kids, Megan, who's 29 now, and Lowell, a non-binary, they, them, who is now 26. When I ask them what they remember from our time here, the Grove, the Green Grove, they loved being outside, and we would have to rope them in to coming inside, okay, because it was gorgeous. It's still gorgeous. They remember Our Whole Lives, human sexuality class that at that time was primarily focused on our junior high age group. And then that was alternate years with our coming of age program. But they were all about, they didn't really want to come, but once they were there, you couldn't get them out of there. So I knew that it was making some impact. And we still offer that Our Whole Lives for the whole kind of development from kindergarten, I think 5-year-olds, all the way through to high school. The other thing that I really loved about and love about the RE program is that it allows kids to have connections to all of us who might not be parents, who might be past parenting, who just like being around kids, but are looking for ways to connect. And the one example I could think of, how many of you remember Phyllis Hauer? Phil Hauer. She was an amazing member of this church, along with her husband, I think Ward, who also was served on the board. So Phil was a great friend of our DRE at the time, our Director of Religious Exploration, Jennifer Thrall Thomas. And Jennifer was coming up with ways to get older folks connected with younger folks. And so she started this story, kind of having ways for people to tell their life story to the young people. And what she did was she had Phil come to us as a group, maybe on a Sunday morning when we were all meeting in here all together, and she had her tell them, all the children, about her life as a ballerina in the San Francisco, and this was a woman who didn't look like a ballerina, at all. And she brought a piece of her tutu or her costuming. And what Jennifer did with that, and what we all came to do, was there was a huge loom in that corner, and it was brought by Karen Racy, and we took that piece of cloth that Phil brought, and we wove it into a fabric. And then over the course of that program year, kids would come and tell their little story. They're like, gosh, if she was a ballerina, maybe I can talk about, like, my favorite dress. Maybe I can talk about what I really like to do in school. And so we had olders and youngers bringing things every week, it was basically once a month, we'd have this storytelling. And over the course of that year, we built and wove our fabric together, okay? And so we had a concrete example of how we are connected, okay? And so those memories, they live in this room. And we want to make sure that they will continue to live for this congregation. So if you have any inkling, even if you don't think you have any skills with children, you do. Just by showing up, you have skills. And for those of you who, when I'm sitting out there at the table, go, been there, done that, I've raised many children, then I'm like, good. I want you signing up once a month to sit in that nursery. I want you signing up maybe once a month to team teach on a Sunday morning. We have the curriculums, we have the training, and we have the space. We're just looking for teachers and for support, maybe mentors as well. So think about it. Our community raises our kids, and we want you to be a part of that. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm trying to find my place now up here. Okay, I found it. So each week, we begin our worship service centering ourselves by lighting the flaming chalice. That symbol of our free faith, a beacon of hope, love, and justice. We light our chalice in solidarity with thousands of other Unitarian Universalists lighting chalices in their spaces across the globe, reminding us that we are connected to a great community of faith and love. As Rob has lit the chalice here in the sanctuary, I invite you at home, if you have a candle or a chalice nearby, this is your chance to light it. Thank you. So let's join together for our gathering hymn, number 1018, in the, what color book? Teal hymnal. It is called Come and Go With Me, number 1018. Rise in body or spirit.
from and live on land considered sacred by many indigenous peoples, known as Bannock, Shoshone, Paiute, and many other tribes that lived here sustainably for thousands of years, inhabiting a vast region including much of Idaho.
We recognize the long history of the land, long before colonization, and acknowledge the ancient tribes whose names have been lost in history.
With this acknowledgement, we wish to demonstrate our commitment to dismantling the legacies of settler colonialism. We honor Indigenous peoples' connection to the land and support their right to sovereignty.
In the challenges of these truths, may we move through the world bringing justice in every way that we can, listening to the truths spoken to us by Native American peoples, making space for them to re-inhabit this place, and giving them back the resources they need to heal their communities.
Our guest preacher today is our own Rob Ham, who, who will be speaking about UU principles, the core of faith and resistance. Now, as we enter into this time of worship, let's take a moment to breathe together. Fill your body with breath, knowing that our breath connects us to our bodies, to one another, and to our planet. Our breath offers us the opportunity to tune in to our spiritual center, to listen deeply to our heart's own longing. Thou art the song of my heart in the morning. Thou art the dawn of truth in my soul. Thou art the dew of the roses adorning. Thou art the woven whole. Thine is the grace to be steadfast in danger. Thine is the peace that none can destroy. Thine is the face of the need-driven stranger. Thine are the wings of joy. Thou art the deep to the deep in me calling. Thou art a lamp where my feet shall tread. Thy way is steep past the peril of falling. Thou art my daily bread. Thine be the praise of my spirit uplifted. Thou art the sea to each flowing stream. Thine be the days that are gathered and sifted. Thou art the deathless dream. For our centering music today, Carrie will play a beloved melody by Handel, Larghetto. Our call to worship this morning is probably familiar. It's attributed to Kalidasi. Look to this day, for it is life, the very life of life. In its brief course lie all the verities and realities of your existence, the bliss of growth, the glory of action, the splendor of beauty. For yesterday is but a dream, and tomorrow is only a vision. But today, well lived, makes every yesterday a dream of happiness, and every tomorrow a vision of hope. Look well, therefore, to this day. Come, let us worship together. With our promise of building beloved community, we celebrate our commitment to being a multi-generation community of generosity, of care, and connection. In that spirit, we would like to invite our children to come to the front. It's time for, no, don't come up, don't come. If you were coming, don't, children. We don't have any children today. Yes, we do. Thank you. So here is Travis retelling the story, The Drum.
All right. Thumbs up. Hi. How's everybody? Hi. That's great to hear. So, when you mentioned drum lessons during services, that's actually what we're doing today. Where Justin is leading us in a drum and band exploration for our religious exploration today. But anybody who's curious, want to wander over after services, we're going to be making some noise on the other side. So I was going to do, in the spirit of that, I was going to do a retelling of, it's actually an Indian fable that I saw, and it was retold by a man named Rob Cleveland. So in this story, there was a young boy who had, in their village, some traveling musicians came. And he saw these musicians and he was just delighted, especially fascinated by the drums. And he said that all he could ever want was a drum. And he went home to his mother, but he said, I'm not even going to mention it because we're kind of a poor family. I'll ask for, I don't want my mom to feel bad. But later on, it was like, well, it is your birthday coming up. What would you like, son? He says, well, I really do want a drum. And she says, oh, okay. Says, well, I'm going to the harvest. I'm going to go to the village, to the market. I'm going to sell our harvest, our seeds. If we have any money left over, I will buy you a drum. And he says, okay, great. So mother went to the harvest. She had just barely enough money to get what they needed. No extra money at all. So despondent, she was walking home, and tears were coming down, and a man noticed that she was walking by and said, oh, my dear, what's wrong? Why are you so sad? And I says, oh, I don't have any money to buy what my son a gift for my son for his birthday. And he says, oh, well, let me look around. And he says, oh, I've got just the thing. I've got a stick. But it's not any old stick. This was a magic stick, and I'm pretty sure there's magic left over in the stick. And so she took it home. She says, I'm sorry, we weren't able to get you the drum, but I do have this magic stick. And the boy, though inside a little disappointed, he didn't want to vocalize that to his mother. After all, his parents made sure that he was always fed, that his clothes were always clean. So he says, okay, I got my stick. He went outside, learned to play with his stick. He taught his stick commands. Said, stick, lay down. Oh, stick, stay. Yeah. So it was a great stick. He decided to go for a walk with his stick. And he happened upon a woman who was despondent. And she says, what's wrong? And she was the baker of the village. She says, I made a mistake. I left my wood outside. And it rained last night. And I can't start the fire for the oven. And I can't make the bread. And if I can't make the bread, I can't feed my people. I can't feed my family. And I can't feed the village. And the boy says, boy, that's a tough one. And started walking away and said, wait, stick. So she went and handed the boy the stick. He says, what about this? Would this work? And she says, oh my gosh, that would be perfect. Thank you. So she took the stick. He says, as a thank you, though, I want to give you something. And so she gave, since she was a baker, she gave him some bread. She says, oh, great. We'll take home the bread. It'll work, it'll feed the family. So I was walking along, had some bread, came along and there was another woman despondent, crying. She says, and she was the potter. I know, it keeps going. She was the potter. And the potter says, oh, I need to work on my pots. I need to make pots for the village. But my kids are so hungry. I just can't leave them. She says, well, I've got bread. So he gave the bread. He says, well, as a thank you, I'm going to give you one of my best pots. All right. Or we could always use a pot. So he's walking along with his pots, and he sees a couple. So he started off with a stick. Then he had some bread. And now he has a pot. And so now he's walking along and sees a couple arguing. And she hears and these were the launderers of the town. They washed the clothes. And the woman was saying, oh, you old fool. You're so clumsy. You walked through the middle of the room and you broke my pot. Now I can't wash the clothes. And the boy said, well, and as they were arguing, he just went and set the pot right there in the middle. And they said, oh, thank you. As a thank you, I have this great coat that somebody brought to me to wash and never came back to get it. And I'd like you to have it. All right. It's on the coat. It's way too big for him. Was walking along. And in the field, he sees a man running around, crazed, dressed only in his underwear. And says, yeah, I know. So now it's, oh, I forgot. We got to repeat everything that we had. So we had to start with the stick, had the bread, got a pot, and now he has a great coat. So running around, and he says, "Sir, what's going on?" He says, "Why do you have no clothes?" And he says, "I was leaving town. I was going to go visit my family, and I was riding my old horse, and robbers set upon me, and my old horse is so slow, I couldn't get away, and they took everything, even my clothes, except my underwear. They gave him that much respect." And so he said, "Oh, well, perfect. I have this great coat." He says, "Wonderful. Thank you so much." And he says, "As a thank you, all I have left is this old horse. I can't do anything with this horse. The horse didn't protect me from when the robbers were trying to get me, so take the horse." So he's walking down with the horse. And he runs in. There's a great festival going on. There's a great celebration. But there was a man there that was, and the man he was familiar to the boy, but he couldn't figure out where he saw him before. But he was despondent again. And he said, "What's the matter?" And he says, It's the wedding day of my son. And in our village, we have a tradition that the groom rides into the ceremony on a great horse. And after the ceremony, they both get on a horse and they ride off, and that seals that good fortunes for that marriage. But I have no horse. I've been trying. I was like, well, I have a horse. And he says, thank you. There's no way I can repay you. He says, I'm just a simple musician. And the boy says, wait, that's where I saw you. You were the traveling musician who came by. And he comes running around and he runs around and he says, I have nothing much to give you, but I would like to give you my favorite drum. My favorite drum. I made this drum myself. And so we got to go through everything. We started with stick. And then we got some bread. And then we got pot. And then we got, you got to remember, coat. And then we had a horse. And then we had our drum. Yes. So the boy took the drum back to his mother and says, there was some magic left in that stick. But was the magic really in the stick? No. The magic was from the boy and his unconditional giving and what came back to him. And to wrap it around to what Kathy elegantly was talking about with religious exploration, another gift that you can give is your time. Your time is, in fact, your most valuable gift that you can give to our RE program, our religious exploration program. And we're starting it off in October fresh, but you don't, even if you're not ready to do something like that now, if you want to observe later in the year, this isn't a one-time thing. We're always going to be looking for help. And so if you have any questions about it, let me know, and Kathy will be out on the table, and we're going to go do some drumming. So come and join us after the rest of the service. Thanks. Thank you. Yes, we got to sing.
When we give, we say yes to the natural cycle of abundance in our lives, and we say yes to building a beloved community within and beyond our walls. We commit ourselves to do work for justice and compassion for all people and our earth. Today, we share those gifts with our plate partner, which for this month is the Reverend, pardon me, the Very Reverend Elizabeth Green Pay It Forward Fund. Elizabeth should not be allowed to be sitting in the front row. The Reverend Elizabeth Green Pay It Forward Fund, or we call it PIFF, P-I-F-F, was created to address a need among our own Booth community for short-term emergency financial assistance. PIFF is the recipient of the Social Justice Outreach Plate offerings each year and is available to support Booth members and friends through the generosity of those who donate. Over the years, funds have helped members and friends stay in their homes, pay for groceries and utilities, medical expenses, other basic needs of living. So at this time, I invite the ushers to come forward, and our offering will be gratefully received. As the ushers bring our offering gifts forward, please join me in the collective blessing, singing the blessing of our offering this morning. The words are printed on the bookmark found in the seat back pockets. These gifts so freely given, may generosity always be our companions as we walk the holy path towards ever greater compassion and beauty. Thank you. Our reading this morning is called Faith from Ruth Gendler's Book of Qualities is the name of the book. Faith lives in the same apartment building as doubt. When Faith was out of town visiting her uncle in the hospital, doubt fed the cat and watered the asparagus fern. Faith is comfortable with doubt because she grew up with him. Their mothers are cousins. Faith is not dogmatic about her beliefs like some of her relatives. Her friends are afraid that Faith is a bit stupid. They whisper that she is naive and she depends on doubt to protect her from the meanness of life. In fact, it is the other way around. It is Faith who protects doubt from cynicism. Please turn to your hymn, number 108, in the gray hymnals to join us in singing, My Life Flows On. I'm pleased to welcome Rob to the pulpit, who will be offering the sermon this morning.
I'm going to attempt to speak slowly and distinctly. Now, that's not going to work, is it? Hard enough without that distraction. a blessing for the one I cannot forgive. May you find peace, even though I cannot be its source. May the wound that impelled you to hurt fill in over time. May I release the weight of holding you in judgment, because I'm worthy of rest. I'm worthy of being at peace. I'm worthy of feeling free. May I find peace in letting go, even if forgiveness never comes. That's from the 7 Principles of Word and Worship. The first UU principle, the inherent worth and dignity of every person. Benjamin Guerrero Cruz is 18 years old. He's a student at Reseda Chartered High School in the San Fernando Valley of Los Angeles, California. Benjamin helps care for his twin 5-month-old brothers and another little brother aged 6. According to all reports, he's a hardworking and conscientious student. Benjamin was walking his dog in Van Nuys, California, when he was abducted by ICE agents, who left his dog loose on the streets and whisked Benjamin off to a detention center. Benjamin's mother says that the facility is terribly overcrowded with grossly inadequate food and water. Benjamin's crime, he was an immigrant, and he stayed 2 years over his visa. Benjamin has no criminal history of criminal behavior, none. A quote from Politico, quote, Stephen Miller, Deputy White House Chief of Staff, was unequivocal. Immigration and Customs Enforcement officers would seek to arrest 3,000 or more immigrants per day, a staggering target that he said was necessary to carry out President Donald Trump's mass deportation agenda, unquote. This quota has no basis in law or necessity. This is merely a fulfillment of a campaign promise and the exploitation of unfounded fears and hatreds that infect our nation. And it's a bald-faced power grab. As Unitarian Universalists, we understand that our first principle means no human being is illegal. A person may not have documentation to live in the U.S., but no person can be deemed illegal simply for existing. What right does any government have to kidnap innocent children, to rip families apart, and terrorize entire communities? What gives the government right to declare that an entire group of people is without worth and deprive them of their dignity? The plight of Benjamin Guerrero Cruz is not an isolated incident. Similar stories are reported all over the country. The words of Thich Nhat Hanh, "You are me, and I am you. Isn't it obvious that we enter are? You cultivate the flower in yourself so that I will be beautiful. I transform the garbage in myself so that you will not have to suffer. I support you, you support me. I am in this world to offer you peace, and you are in this world to bring me joy." Even undocumented people have value and worth and should be respected. Every week we say the words, "Everyone is welcome here." This is why we resist. The second principle, justice, equity, and compassion in human relations. Slavery and the Jim Crow era are one of the darkest and saddest chapters in our history, second in my view only to the genocide of the Native Americans that inhabited this continent. After the abolition of slavery, Americans of African descent had a brief period of hope and freedom. This ended when Union troops left the southern states. And the very same people who enslaved black people were once again in positions of power. The hard-won rights of African Americans were destroyed almost overnight. For the next century, black Americans lived a grim existence, repression, abuse, and economic exploitation. This still goes on, albeit in different forms. The 1960s brought the civil rights movement. Many allies and people of conscience flocked to the struggle. One was Viola Luso. She was known as V to her friends, except for the 5 people who called her Mom. And she was not one to take injustice lying down. She was married, she worked as a medical assistant in Detroit, Michigan, and she was a Unitarian. V traveled to Alabama to participate in the Selma to Montgomery Voting Rights March in March of 1965. On the evening of March 25th, she was transporting a 19-year-old black man who had participated in the march from Selma back to Montgomery. While at a stoplight, they were spotted by a carload of local Ku Klux Klansmen and pursued. The Klansmen caught up and opened fire on V's vehicle. V was killed instantly. Her passenger miraculously was not seriously injured. In the assailant vehicle was a paid FBI informant who later testified at the ensuing trial. The Alabama Klan, assisted by a white supremacist-leaning press, immediately initiated a brutal smear campaign against the civil rights movement in general and Viglioso in particular. She was accused of mental instability and sexual promiscuity, and none of this had any basis in fact. Why was she in the car with a young black man at night? And what was she doing in Alabama anyway? She should have been home with her children. These were typical questions asked. What was V doing in Alabama? She was a Unitarian because of the same beliefs that drew her to the civil rights movement, a belief in justice, equity, and compassion. Viola Liuzzo was by no means a perfect person. She had flaws just like the rest of us. She just saw an injustice and wanted to help correct it. Unitarian ministers James Reeb, Clark Olson, and Orloff Miller were also in Alabama participating in the Selma to Montgomery March. After eating dinner at an integrated restaurant, the three were attacked on the street by white supremacists. Reeb suffered massive head trauma and died of his injuries 2 days later. I believe that they were Unitarians because they were moved by the spirit of the UU principles, and that's what drew them to the struggle. The alleged assailants were acquitted by an all-white, all-male jury after a delusion of unproven falsehoods and out-and-out lies propagated by the white supremacist movement, the Klan, and aided and even encouraged by the mainstream press. The same white supremacist movement is alive and thriving today. Now they're college-educated and they wear suits instead of white robes. And they have expanded their target list to include immigrants and all people of color. This flies in the face of the second principle. And it's only a matter of time before they turn their sights directly on us. This is why we resist. The third principle, acceptance of one another, encouragement of spiritual growth in our congregations. Recently, we had our annual drag service here at Booth. It was flamboyant, to say the least, and I found the sermon to be very moving. Now, drag entertainment isn't for everyone, and it may not be your cup of tea aesthetically. But it's important that we support all marginalized communities, including the drag community. This is acceptance and encouragement. We of the UU faith accept all lifestyles, all orientations, and all spiritual leanings. This is what we do, and we do it because it's right. Our community conscience does not permit us to do otherwise. The LBGT plus community is under attack. Red state legislatures are passing anti-queer, anti-trans, anti-drag laws all over the country. And some of the most egregious are right here in Idaho. It is an inherent human right to live the way you want, love who you want, dress the way you want, and identify as whatever is true to your nature. Government does not have the right to deny any of this. Many Unitarians are protesting with their voices and their bodies to stop this outrage. Again, do we do this because we're Unitarians? No, we do it because it's right. This is why we resist. Fourth principle, free and responsible search for truth and meaning. We are all on a journey. Living life means finding out our truth, whatever that may be. Truth and meaning are as varied as people are. What is true for one may not be for another. It is an inherent human right to make that decision for ourselves without interference from government or any outside power. There's a bill in the Idaho legislature requiring that the 10 Christian commandments be posted in classrooms. Similar laws have been passed in other states. Now, even in Idaho, there are significant numbers of children who do not practice Christianity. There are Buddhists, Muslims, and atheist families, among others. What gives one group of people the right to indoctrinate the children of others in a belief that may not be shared by their parents? What gives these people the same right to use the government authority to propagate their personal beliefs? The present administration has embarked on a crusade to erase some of the more darker and more brutal parts of our history and make them as though they didn't happen. Libraries, museums, and monuments are all affected. Truth itself is under attack. This government envisions a nation of controlled thoughts and actions, morals and beliefs dictated from above. The UU community finds this intolerable. We must decide for ourselves what a truth for search and meaning is, and we must struggle for it in any way we are able. Learning is sacred, and dissension is duty. This is why we resist. The fifth principle, the right of conscience and the use of the democratic process within our congregations and society at large. Voter suppression is rampant. Restrictive voter ID laws and voterless purges harken back to the poll taxes and literacy tests of a bygone era. Gerrymandering seems to have become a national sport, all in the service of reducing suffrage. They that presently rule know that a large turnout is bad news for them, and I fear the aftermath of the next election if it doesn't go MAGA's way. Who knows what they might do, and there are no depths to which they will not sink. For Unitarian Universalists, voting and participating in the democratic process are an article of faith. Governments are immensely powerful and can affect every aspect of our lives, including the spiritual. It is incumbent on all citizens to insist that government acts in the mindset of helping others, hearing all voices, and acting with compassion. This is why we resist. The sixth principle, the goal of world community with peace, liberty, and justice for all. Thich Nhat Hanh said, "A strong community or sangha is vital for individual well-being and collective flourishing." Martin Luther King agreed when he said, "Whatever affects one directly affects all indirectly." Peace, liberty, and justice are not individual pursuits. If we do not achieve it for one, we will not achieve it for any of us. We are all interconnected, and we share the same planet, we breathe the same air, and we drink the same water. Human beings are social animals. We depend on each other. We need community. We can't stop climate change alone. We can't save our oceans alone. We cannot eradicate disease alone. These all require the efforts of a global family. We must embrace connection. The current administration waves the banner of America First. This is a delusion. The rest of the planet are looking for ways to do without us, and many are finding them. And we must acknowledge the support and the concept of world community, or we face isolation and economic ruin. Rampant nationalism is a curse, and it's destroyed many nations in the past. Are we going to join that club? This is why we resist. The seventh principle, respect for the interdependent web of all existence of which we are a part. When did we divorce ourselves from creation? When did we lose touch with the sky and the soil? And how did we sink into this digitalized, mechanized sleep that keeps us estranged from our very essence, the universe? Fortunately, humankind has a wonderful ability to combine sacred with the scientific. Through discovery and exploration, we can end our estrangement with creation. We can reconnect through understanding and knowledge. Science is the pursuit of knowledge. Cosmologist Thomas Berry wrote, "One of the finest moments of our new sensitivity to the natural world is our discovery of Earth as a living organism. This was clear in ancient times as an instinctive insight into the nature and functioning of the Earth," unquote. Yes, the Earth is a living organism, and we do not live on the Earth, we live in her. Our planet is under constant attack from dark forces of greed and self-absorption. We're constantly bombarded with consumerist messages that are not only debilitating to our humanity, but are fueling the destruction of our world. This is why we resist. The eighth principle. We, the member congregations of the Unitarian Universalist Association, covenant to affirm and promote journeying towards spiritual wholeness by working to build a diverse, multicultural, beloved community by our actions that accountably dismantle racism and other oppressions in ourselves and our institutions. A prayer. May we find joy in togetherness. May we find bliss in equality. May we find peace that lies in love for all sentient beings, especially for our human brothers and sisters. May we not be distracted by differences in opinion or orientation or succumb to the manipulation of evil elites. May we act with and in love, understanding, and compassion. Amen. This is why we resist, and may we continue to have the strength to do so. Namaste. I was actually looking for Patricia. So, oh, there she is. Transition's real a lot today, I'm sorry.
Thank you, Rob. Each week, we take time to acknowledge the joys among us and to grieve the sorrows and the losses, so that we might lift that burden for each other and receive the blessing of this community. It is through our sharing with one another that we forge deep bonds of community and connection. We begin with these joys and sorrows. It is a joy to report that Steve Elstein is in remission. And we share these sorrows. Carrie Bastian's father died earlier this week. We hold Carrie and David and her family in our hearts. Diana Barraro Lowe's little dog, Ruby, passed away August 17th. She was a faithful, loving companion for 11 years. And Neil Hudson reports that his older brother, Michael, in Phoenix, has late-stage cancer and may need to go into hospice care soon. Even so, he appears to be in good spirits, as has enjoyed visits from many of his siblings. If you're holding someone in your heart this morning, I invite you to speak their name aloud into this community of love, that we may hold them with you. May the arms of this community hold all of our joys and sorrows, those named and those that remain silent and close to our hearts. Let us together take a breath in and out, releasing the sorrows the world knows too well and finding comfort in our companionship with one another. Recognize that you are part of a whole and holy community where joy and woe are woven fine. Please join me in this prayer from Denise Levertov. Marvelous truth, confront us at every turn, in every guise, every ball, egg, dark horse, shadow, cloud of breath on the air. Dwell in our crowded hearts, our steaming bathrooms, our kitchens full of things to be done, the ordinary streets. Thrust close your smile that we may know you, terrible joy. Amen. I invite you now to join in body and spirit in singing our closing hymn, number 1015, in the teal hymnal. I know I can. Yeehaw, that was great. Friends, I invite you to place your hands over your heart as Rob leads us in our closing blessing.
The words of John O'Donohue for celebration. Now is time to free the heart. Let all intentions and worries stop. Free the joy inside the self. Awaken to the wonder of your life. Open your eyes and see the friends whose heart your face is kin. Those whose kindness is watchful and near, encourages you to live everything here. See the gifts, the years that have given, things your effort could never earn, the health to enjoy what you want to be, and the mind to the mirror of mystery.
Blessed are we all. Go in peace.